After I gave my husband power of attorney during my high-risk pregnancy, he sold my car and emptied my savings account. When I found out, he said, "You needed rest. Now you can." His sister added, "You weren't smart enough to protect it." I nodded. And the next day, I delivered the medical records, financial logs, and revoked authorization that I didn't think I was naive. I'd worked in corporate HR for over a decade. I managed compliance reports, ran investigations, trained people on harassment and ethics. I knew how manipulation worked in theory. But when it came from the man I married, it slipped under my radar. That's what eats at me the most. Marcus and I had been together 8 years, married for 5. We met in Oakland, moved to Sacramento for his job at a logistics company. He was charming, well-spoken, and ambitious. People liked him. My friends said we looked good together. His family, well, they were a different story. His mom was distant. His sister, Larissa, always acted like I was temporary. Polite, but with that tone women use when they don't respect you. Still, we built a life. Bought a small house. Shared a car, until I bought my own with money I saved up. We weren't flashy. I liked it that way. Then I got pregnant. We weren't even trying, but once it happened, I was in. I wanted that baby more than I've ever wanted anything. The pregnancy hit hard. I was 35 and already had high blood pressure, but in the second trimester it got worse. Migraines, swelling, trouble sleeping. My OB told me it was officially a high-risk pregnancy. She didn't mince words. If you don't reduce your stress, you could lose the baby or worse. That scared me. I was trying to hold it together, but the headaches were constant, and I could feel my body giving out. Marcus seemed supportive. He offered to take over the bills, suggested I start leave early, said he'd handle everything. I pushed back at first. "I don't want to be dependent," I told him. "You won't be," he said. "This is temporary. You need rest, and we've got the money. I can't grow this baby, but I can make sure you don't lose it." He kept saying it like it was a gift he was offering me, that he was stepping up. Then he brought up the power of attorney just until I recovered. "It'll make it easier if something urgent comes up. You don't need to be signing documents from bed." I resisted. My gut told me to slow down. But then his mom called me that same night, asking how I was feeling, and ended the call with, "You've got a good man." Not many husbands would step up like this. Then Larissa texted me out of nowhere. "Smart move. You need to be focusing on the baby now, not paperwork." It felt coordinated, but I was tired. I was scared. I gave in. I signed. Over the next few weeks, I stayed in bed most days, barely had the energy to shower. Marcus was always on the move, leaving early, coming home late. Larissa started showing up more, saying she was there to help. She never helped. She ate my snacks, took calls on speaker right next to me, and once I overheard her laughing about how good things were finally going for Marcus. Then one Tuesday afternoon, I went to refill a prescription. The card declined. I thought it was a glitch. I checked my bank app and froze. Our joint account was drained. But worse, my personal savings, the one I opened before we even met, was empty too. I called Marcus. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. Then I went to the garage, and my car was gone. I sat on the floor, full-blown panic attack. I couldn't even cry at first. It was too much. I tried to calm myself, kept saying he wouldn't. There's no way. When he came home that night, I asked him, "Where's my car?" He didn't even blink. Just said, "I sold it. It wasn't safe. You needed rest. Now you can actually rest." I asked about the savings account. He shrugged. "We needed the money. The baby comes first. I thought you trusted me." Then Larissa, leaning against the doorway like she lived there, added with a smirk, "You weren't smart enough to protect it. That's on you." I wanted to scream, to throw something, but I didn't. I just nodded. That's all I did. I nodded like I understood. And that night, when they both left the house, him to the gym, her to who knows where, I got up. I drove to the hospital in my mother's old Civic. Requested every record. Every blood pressure reading. Every appointment. Every note my OB made about stress and danger and risk. Then I went to the bank and had them print every transaction made under the POA. I filed paperwork to revoke it. Called an attorney my coworker once recommended after her divorce. I wasn't thinking about divorce yet. I was thinking about proof. I needed proof before I made my next move. I didn't say a word for the next 3 days. Marcus noticed the shift. He asked if I was okay, brought me soup, tried to rub my feet like everything was normal. I let him. I kept my voice calm, like I was floating above it all, like the stress was gone. But every minute I was quiet, I was watching. The attorney I met with, Carla Vega, was blunt. What he did was legal under the POA. But that doesn't make it ethical, and it doesn't mean you don't have options. He's exposed himself. She had me sign an affidavit revoking the power of attorney retroactively due to medical coercion and cognitive vulnerability. She also filed an emergency motion for financial restraint, which froze our joint accounts before Marcus could touch anything else. The day after that filing, Marcus slammed into the house in the middle of the afternoon. "What the hell did you do?" he shouted. I was sitting on the couch, holding my belly.
"Come."
"You froze the accounts. You went behind my back." I looked at him, really looked, and I realized in that moment, I didn't know this man. Not anymore. "You took my savings. You sold my car. I'm 7 months pregnant. You did that behind my back." He started pacing. "I was trying to protect us. You weren't thinking clearly. You were emotional. Now you've got some lawyer trying to destroy our family?" That word, family, hit me like a slap. That's what he was pretending this still was. Later that night, Larissa came back. She walked into our bedroom like she lived there. She didn't say anything, just dumped a pile of folded laundry on the bed and muttered, "Hope your little lawyer's ready. Marcus is gonna bury you if you take this to court." I looked her straight in the face and said, "You shouldn't be here. Ever again." She laughed. "You don't get to kick me out. You won't even have this house in a few months." That was the moment I knew it wasn't just Marcus. She'd been part of it from the start. She wasn't helping, she was managing him, coaching him, probably convincing him that taking my money was his right, that I was weak, that I'd never fight back. 2 days later, I got a call from my job's benefits coordinator. Someone had tried to cancel my maternity leave and insurance policy. Said I was voluntarily resigning. I hadn't touched anything. Carla confirmed it. Marcus had used the POA to contact my employer weeks before I revoked it and left standing instructions to update employment status if health declined. She called it an anticipatory tactic, setting up a paper trail to make me look unstable. Now, it wasn't just financial abuse. It was strategic.
Planned.
And there was more. Carla found a second savings account Marcus had opened in his name only, weeks before he convinced me to sign the POA. The deposits matched the withdrawals from my personal account, nearly dollar for dollar. He hadn't used the money for us. He'd hidden it. We subpoenaed the records. That night, I watched him sleep. I'd moved into the guest room by then, but I stood in the doorway and just stared at him. I felt numb. He didn't know yet that I had all the records. He didn't know I had frozen the accounts, documented everything, revoked everything legally. And he definitely didn't know I was already working with a high-risk OB specialist across town, one who would take over my care discreetly and who had already flagged my old records as compromised due to spousal conflict. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was preparing. Because once I delivered this baby, Marcus and Larissa were going to find out exactly what it meant to be outsmarted by someone they thought was too weak to fight. A week after the subpoenas were filed, I got a call from Carla. "Did you authorize a property transfer?" she asked, voice sharp.
"No."
"Why?" Marcus filed paperwork to transfer partial ownership of the house to his sister. My stomach dropped. I didn't even know you could do that without both parties signing. Apparently, under the temporary POA, he initiated the paperwork and filed it through a third-party title agent he knew. The transfer hadn't gone through yet, because Carla's financial restraint motion had already hit the system. But he'd tried. He was planning something bigger than just draining money. He wanted to move me out of my own house. I was 7.5 months pregnant when Carla handed me a folder and said, "He's either preparing to push you out legally or set up a claim that you're mentally unfit to parent. This is more than theft now. This is an exit plan." That same week, Larissa stopped coming around. Not out of guilt, but because she'd started posting. Not vague, not private. Public Facebook posts about parasites who trap men with babies and how family comes before freeloaders. Friends of mine sent me screenshots. Then someone sent me a photo. Larissa and Marcus, standing outside a newly leased office space. Coming soon. LM Logistics Group. Marcus's initials. They were starting a business with my money. The same money he said was for us. The savings I'd built for years before I ever got pregnant. I looked at the photo and couldn't stop shaking. It was like staring into a life I was being erased from. But the final twist, the one that broke any remaining illusion, came when Carla handed me a transcript of a call. She had filed for emergency discovery rights to pull any POA-related communications involving my medical info. My OB's clinic had recorded a call Marcus made 2 weeks earlier. He told the nurse I was experiencing paranoia and emotional swings and that he was concerned about my ability to make rational decisions. He requested the hospital flag my chart for mental instability and warned them that I might act out dangerously during labor. He was building a case, trying to paint me as unstable so he could gain custody. That's when the anger stopped being a feeling. It became purpose. I copied every screenshot, every transcript, every record of withdrawal and sale and lie. I sent them to a family friend who worked at a local news outlet. Just a tip, no names yet. Just enough to plant a seed. And then I did what Marcus never expected. I smiled. Because the moment that baby came into this world, everything they did, every theft, every scheme, every sick manipulation was going to burn. And they were going to burn with it. I gave birth to my daughter on a Thursday morning in May. It wasn't easy. An emergency C-section after my blood pressure spiked and the baby's heart rate dropped. But we made it. She was small but strong. She came out screaming like she already knew the world was dangerous. Marcus wasn't there. He showed up late that afternoon, wearing cologne and a fresh button-down, smiling like nothing had happened. He walked in, saw my mom holding the baby, and said, "There's my girl." My mom didn't hand her over. I didn't speak. A sheriff's deputy walked in 5 minutes later and served him a restraining order, right there in the hospital room. He barely had time to react before they told him to leave. He tried to talk his way out of it, said it was a misunderstanding, that I was emotional from the surgery. But it didn't matter. The paperwork was signed by a judge. The evidence was too strong. Every financial move, every attempt to paint me unstable, every recorded lie. He was escorted out. 3 days later, I was released from the hospital and straight into a temporary housing program for women dealing with family financial abuse. My mom and I moved into a quiet rental on the edge of Citrus Heights. Clean. Safe. No one knew we were there. Meanwhile, Carla filed civil action. We sued Marcus for misappropriation of funds, financial abuse of a vulnerable adult, and fraudulent misuse of power of attorney. We named Larissa in the suit as a co-conspirator. The paper trail was undeniable. The judge froze all of Marcus's personal and business accounts. The LM Logistics launch? Dead in the water. They'd already put down money for the lease, bought office furniture, ordered signs. All of it seized. Larissa tried to play innocent, claimed she didn't know where the money came from. But her texts told the real story. Screenshots of her coaching Marcus on what to say, telling him she's too drugged up to notice, mocking me while I was on bed rest. I filed a separate motion for full legal and physical custody. Included a statement from my OB and the hospital psychologist who confirmed that Marcus intentionally misrepresented my condition, that he tried to manipulate the hospital into thinking I was unfit. The judge granted a no-contact order. Marcus wasn't allowed to see our daughter, not even supervised visits. Larissa was banned from being within 500 feet of me or the baby. But it wasn't just about keeping them away. It was about making sure they were exposed. Remember the family friend who worked at the news outlet? She followed up, did a full story on coercive control in pregnancy, used my case, redacted my name, but included enough detail that anyone in our circle knew exactly who it was about. It ran online and was picked up by 3 other local news blogs. Marcus lost his job. His company couldn't afford the publicity. Larissa's employer found out. She was let go under their ethics clause. Their names were scorched. I wasn't done. I filed for divorce, of course. Carla negotiated a full asset review. Not only did we recover most of my original savings, Marcus had to liquidate the second account and pay penalties, but I got to keep the house. Turns out the attempted title transfer voided the original POA's legitimacy, thanks to the emergency motion we filed. The best part? That house, my house, is now in my daughter's name, held in trust. They can never touch it again. I heard Marcus moved in with his cousin across town. I don't know where Larissa ended up. I don't care. They've been quiet.
No apologies. No accountability.
Just silence. But I sleep. I sleep knowing they thought I was weak. That they saw pregnancy as a window to exploit me. That they thought a tired woman on bed rest couldn't fight back.
And now?
They get to wake up every day knowing I was smarter, stronger, and more dangerous than they ever imagined. They get to live with what they did. And what it cost them. I got my daughter. They got nothing. And that's exactly what they deserve.